Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping out people get their finances in shape. Welcome everybody around the country and around the world. We are here to provide some financial knowledge, hopefully that you will edify it and it will help you increase your place in the economic landscape of America. We've been on this. This is our 130. Wow. Fifth show, though. Isn't that something? That's a lot of shows, man. We've been really putting them out and hoping that it's been useful and helpful to you all. Just want to remind you all that we are not financial advisors. We are financial educators. We are not fiduciary. We have no fiduciary responsibilities or licenses, and we do not sell products. But what we do is try to provide you with information. So please make sure you share this information. Now, one of the things we like for you to click on the like button. That helps us just increase our audience. And actually, if you click on the heart button, but if you put comments in the comment box, that makes us be even more access to people because that's how the algorithms work, at least on Facebook. But make sure you share on Facebook Live and make sure you subscribe and ask your friends to subscribe for all those people out there on YouTube. Just want to thank you all. Remember, uh, um, we're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the people who are over there 5 hours ahead in Great Britain. Do you know that it would be actually 1 o'clock for you all? We got some loyal people though to be on at 1 and 2 in the morning. So we thank you all for that. So last week we had another wonderful show talking about the key to a stronger financial future. This week we're going to be talking about financial planning pitfalls. Dope. I'm sure we got a lot to talk about on that, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
So hold on to your hats. We got a lot of good information, you all. And look, remember, if you have any comments about what we're talking about, any opinions of what we're talking about, please feel free to put it in the comment box. Or if you have a question or there's a topic you'd like for us to cover, we will definitely consider engaging it if it's in line with what we're talking about tonight, or we feel we can fit it in, we will. We don't have all the answers, but we got a lot between the two of us. We've been around on this financial pattern thing for some time. Don't, how long have you been in the business? In other words, how long? CPA, huh?
Back to the late 70s, early 80s, man.
Ooh. Like Ric Flair would go, woo, woo. It's a long time.
How long? Long time.
Long time. Somebody said you did Jesus Christ's taxes. That's old. So look, dope. Let's start off with our most main topic at the top of our discussion, and that is the stock market. I know you got some good news for us this week.
Well, it's funny. There was a big drop yesterday. It was the biggest drop in a long, long time. But it came back today. So as you can see, the Dow actually is up for the week, a little over 1%. And NASDAQ took a hit on Wednesday, but it bounced back today, but it's still 149 points lower than last week. And that's up because all the tech heavy stocks took a hit because Fed kind of indicated that they were not going to lower interest rates in March. At least that's what everybody feels. And so those stocks are very sensitive to interest rates and the fact that Fed's going to lower the interest rates, that kind of caused them to take a big hit. But like I said, they all came back today. Microsoft is about last week, it's actually down a point. Tesla, which took a big hit because of their results, even though their sales were good, but their margins were a little shaky because, as you know, they've been cutting prices. Apple was down 7 points versus last week, but they announced earnings after the close today. So we'll see how the market interprets those, because they have been recognizing not losses, but increases year over year. But this is the first quarter. They will actually show an increase year over year. But I think the markets look at a little more detail and see what kind of margins they're making, because you're seeing things like the iPad sales are going down, and they want to see how much effect the new iPhone had in the fourth quarter, and they're expecting a big push from their services, and so we'll have to see how that goes. Pfizer stayed flat, and sometimes I think about selling that, but again, I think it's paying like 6% dividend, so that's about as good as I could do any place else. And then NVIDIA continues to roll. It's up 14 points, and that's the one I'm always joking with Bob about. When should I sell? And you guys know my philosophy on that. I'll only sell that when I think, one, it's a bad stock to own, or two, I have an alternative or something else that I would like to buy that I think will do better than it's doing, and I don't feel that strongly about any particular stock right now. So I will continue to hold and let it ride, and hey, it's doing okay for me.
How many years ago did you enter into that stock?
No, I just bought that. It's over a year old, so I'm in a long-term period. I think I got it around November of 22, I believe. Don't hold me to that. I know I got in around 170, and so it's up. It's rolling. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
I guess so. You got in at 170. How many shares do you have?
I only got 100.
Oh, that's a good return. That's a good return there, brother man. That's and okay. I have the competitor NXP, and I'm up 100%. Yeah, 100% on that. It's doubled, in other words, and that's it's not moving as fast as NVIDIA, but it moves with NVIDIA. That's for sure. It's like
I'm working on 4 times.
Huh?
I'm working on 4 times NVIDIA. I'm over 3 times my initial investment. I'm working on 4.
Right. Wow. That's
okay.
Return. I just want to let the people know, for those people who are in the commodities, and in particular gold and silver is up though. Gold is over 2,000. It's up to $2,030 an ounce, and silver is even up. And silver's at almost like $24. I think I got in at $16 got over about 70 ounces of
how's your Ford doing?
Ford is starting to creep back up. I got in at 13, it went down to about maybe 10, and it's back up to 12. But what's happening, General Motors is moving. It's starting to make a move. So then I got General Electric, because always GE, because they were so diversified at one time. They started diversing a lot of things, and they had a reverse stock split. But that's starting to move pretty good too. So
yeah, but it's funny. Everybody's kind of backing out of electric cars, and I think and that was a loser for most of the car companies, just trying to get in. And when you don't, the manufacturing process, when you aren't making a lot of cars, you are not covering overhead, and so they are not real profitable right now.
Right.
And that's why you see a lot of companies backing off of their investments, their production. Tesla's cutting prices, and so it's those kind of things that are really kind of messing up the EV market right now. But we all think it's just a short-term phenomena, and things will even out. It's a lot of positives with EVs, but there's some things that have to be worked out.
Yeah, still people are a little skeptical, especially with the cold weather that hit them, and a lot of the batteries in the cold weather places was losing charges, and that was becoming a concern. And And you know, the other thing was the capacity. Everybody was I forgot the term for it. They have it uh, about how far it can go on a charge. And
Yeah, plus the charge infrastructure is just not where it's going to be. So there's some anxiety. And we talked a couple of weeks ago, Hertz sold a bunch of EVs because of the maintenance. They go through a bunch of tires, mainly because those cars are so heavy. Those batteries are so heavy. So they go through a lot of tires and brakes, but you're not doing enough to don't have engine trouble, those kinds of things, but you will lose a lot of money on tires and brakes. But the big issue is the infrastructure. They've come to some agreements on a common uh, mechanism for two big bunches of cars. So I think there's going to be like two big proprietary ways of doing it. And one group of car manufacturers will use one, the other group will use the other, and hopefully there'll be an adapter so you can work with either. And more charging stations are being built. So it's better. It's going to be better in the future than it is today. So,
well, that was part of President Biden's infrastructure bill. They put about it was 2 digits in the billions in
whole lot. I
a
don't remember the exact amount.
well, yeah, it was about it was, I remember something like 12 billion, 15 to 15 billion they put in for superchargers too, you know, which would charge fast. So we'll see. Okay, though, let's get into my favorite is the cryptocurrency market. The total market cap is 1.7 trillion. It's still up there. At one time, it was up over $2 trillion. That is highest, I think, a little bit. Yeah, it was right, but it's up 99 billion, up 6%. The total market. Remember, there's man, I think it's man, it's about maybe 20,000 cryptocurrency now, but only I think it's about maybe 11,000 that are active. But we usually stick with the top 10, top 11, and Bitcoin is still the number one coin. And as you can see, it's up $3,193 a Bitcoin. It's up from 39,000 to $43,097 a Bitcoin. That's up 8%. So
that's
as
huge. That's 8%. That's a week.
A week though, and that was down last week. Remember, considerably, and that's why I would say it's highly speculative. But people are making money out of this though. But the money they got is almost like money they could play with. You know, money they're willing to lose. And if you're one of those people, and I know several people who made out, there's a lot of you know what's so interesting about cryptocurrency though. I think I might have said this last week. The difference between when people go gambling at MGM Grand. When people go gambling at the casinos, they never tell you what they lost, but they always tell you what they won. But with cryptocurrency, so many people are quick to tell you what people lost and how risky it is, but they never talk about how much people made. It's a weird dichotomy with cryptocurrency. You know, people want to talk down about this, yet they go play lottery numbers every day and never talk about the money.
And I can understand that because lottery, people understand that. And,
Right.
and Bitcoin is such a.
Do they?
Well, I guess if they understand it, they wouldn't do it because the chances of winning are so low. But I get the excitement. I understand that feeling of thinking you're going to win when you got a ticket and you're holding that ticket, thinking this is the one. And I get those numbers, you know, I'll see, I'll hit the jackpot. So I get it.
The odds, and I haven't done any math or hypotheticals on this, but the odds seem like, and I'm not encouraging people, but I swear the odds seem like they with cryptocurrency because that's $3,193 in a week. And who knows? And I think it's what, $1 million to 1, if not more, for to hit the lottery.
It's two chances, but slim none.
Exactly. Okay, dope. So let's get into our let's get into our actual subject today. Um, Financial planning pitfalls.
And there's many things out there that you can make a mistake. And I have to make a confession. When we started doing this, I think I thought it was simpler than it really is. And I think, but as we've done this and covered all the subjects, there's so many ways to make a mistake that can have a real negative effect on you. It's called pitfalls. Whether you don't save enough, how you handle your taxes, when you take Social Security, all these things that you can end up doing wrong. How much money do you need? What's your plan like? How much money should you put for 4K, your IRA? It's pretty complicated. There's a lot of things to worry about, wonder about, and I guess because with me it's so second nature and it's kind of what I do as a financial person. I'm basically an anal nerd, so it doesn't bother me to have to work through these things, and hence I've done okay. But a lot of that is because I have a strong financial background, so I can understand the frustration of people who aren't financially inclined and like to spend a lot of time looking at this stuff and don't want to make decisions. But there's a lot of things that if you want to build wealth, you've got to put some time in. You have to understand some things. And I think we used to talk about, you hire a financial advisor, that should take away some of your responsibility. But it really doesn't, because you have to be able to give them your thoughts and your feelings, and then you have to be able to understand what they come back to you with in order to make sure you're going to understand what you're getting into. So it's not easy, but we're going to talk about some of the pitfalls and some of the things you can at least be on the lookout for and make sure you don't do wrong. And if these subjects come up, you can seek help for these particular things.
Well, remember our motto: knowledge is power, but action is even more powerful. Now, building your own financial plan, though, requires a lot of researching and learning, like you said. Now, for most, it's not worth the time and ongoing effort. Now, as you get older, busy, and potentially wealthier, your financial goals get more complicated. While the following is by no means a comprehensive list that we're going to talk about today of all the mistakes you can make when preparing a financial plan, it does highlight some of the key points to consider. Because financial planning is an rewarding process that can ease financial anxieties and provide you with the steps needed to get the most out of life. Now, the do-it-yourself approach is not for everyone. For those who lack the time, skills, or discipline to create and follow a financial plan, then it's worth considering a professional help. But like Dodie said, you still need to have some knowledge, because that's what I found with a lot of professional athletes, though. They get financial advisors and they feel that's it. They don't need to know no more. They give them power of attorney and they just let them go at it. But they don't understand half, if not more than that, what they're into. So the responsibility at the end of the day is you all. So, let's talk about the first financial pitfall.
Yeah, and that's kind of near and dear to me. That's relocating on a whim. And especially if you're retiring, you don't want to just pick a place and decide you want to live there. So many people say, I want to move someplace warm. And, you go someplace and find out you don't like it, or you don't, like, move to Florida and you find out they got critters everywhere. They got wild pigs, they got snakes, they got alligators, they got bugs.
They got DeSantis.
No comment. Yeah, you don't have to worry about talking about Black history there, so that's not allowed. But and you decide to move someplace, and then you find out it's not for you. The pace might not be to your liking. There's so many things that could go wrong, but you're just enamored with the fact that the weather might be warm. But there's so many other things to think about with any kind of relocation. You got to look at the tax situation. You got to look at the language, if it's different. Some laws are different, especially now with like marijuana. Some states it's legal, some states it's not. So a lot of those things you got to look at. So try to read as much as you can. If you decide to move someplace, learn them out, learn as much as you can. Talk to somebody who lives there. And most importantly, before you buy something, maybe you want to just rent for a while and see if you like it before you really make that commitment to move. Because that's a big commitment to say you're moving someplace and then liking it and having to re-step up and do it all over again. And as Bob knows, I'm not sure how much you guys know, I left Pittsburgh and moved down here, but my daughter was living here, and that was kind of the main reason. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I had relocated 9 times in my career, and they both are, what's the acronym they use? DINKS, that's one of them, double income. Well, no, that's double income, no kids. But what's the other one? It's high earners, not rich yet. What is that? Henry's. Henry's. High earners, not rich yet.
Oh, wow. I never heard of that one.
Yeah, you never heard of Henry's, but you got a lot of young people who make a lot of money, but they're not rich yet. But so I knew there was a possibility that they may leave. So I made sure that before I moved down here, that it was a place I wanted to be, that I could live, even if they moved away, and they ended up moving away. And I'm scared. But put a lot of thought into that relocation, because that can be a big, big expense if you make a bad decision. It's a big expense anyway, but it's a way bigger expense if you make a bad decision.
Right. We lost you. We lost that last bit.
So I just said it could be a big expense. Well, relocating anywhere is a big expense, but if you make a bad decision, it's a real bad big expense.
Right. And I like what you said. Like, at least, go down and check it out. Rent for a minute. That's a good advice, though. I like that.
And talk to people. Talk to folks who live there and find out, especially talk to people who are like you and who you can get a feel for if it's a place that you'll be comfortable in, and check out all 4 seasons, right? You go to Florida in the spring, you're going to think it's the best place in the world. But if you go in the summer, when it's hot and muggy, you may have a different thought. So check all those things out.
Or the last one, or if you go there and in March in Florida and don't go there between August and November when it's hurricane and tornado season.
That's something else you got to consider. And those rates are crazy. Those are the kind of things you got to look at. Arizona is the same way. A lot of people go there to retire, and in the summer it might be 120 degrees.
Right.
And they'll tell you, oh, it's dry heat. And I don't care what kind of heat it is. 120 is 120, and it's hot. And I've been there in the summertime, and you don't see any kids out or pets out. So
that's one to think about. Hey, Doug, the next one is falling for the too good to be true offer. Now, hard work, carefully planning, careful planning, and decades worth of wealth building, what we always talk about, it takes work, are the keys to a secure financial plan. There are no shortcuts. Yet Americans lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year to get rich quick schemes and scams, according to the Federal Trade Commission, as elder fraud runs rampant. You know that uncle in the backyard always telling you that get rich quick scheme, and he's broke. Now, 2.4 million consumers filed fraud reports in 2022, though, and 8.8 billion was lost in total to fraud reports, according to the Federal Trade Commission. People in their late 80s, early 90s and of sound mind constantly receive calls on a landline from scammers trying to make their part with their trying to make those older people part with their hard-earned dollars. Now, states attorney general offices and the Federal Trade offer tips for spotting too good to be true offers. Now, telltale signs include guarantees of spectacular profits in a short time frame without risk, requests to require money or pay a fee before you can receive a prize, or unnecessary demands to provide bank account and credit card numbers, social security numbers, and other sensitive financial information. That's the first giveaway if they start to ask you for personal information. And always be wary. In fact, run away from anyone pressuring you to make an immediate decision or discourage you from even getting advice from an impartial third party. Now, what do you do if you suspect a scam? The Federal Trade Commission advises running the company or product name. Check this out, y'all. Along with review, caps, or complaint, in quotation, excuse me, or scam through Google or any other or another search engine. You can also check with your local consumer protection office or your state attorney general office to see if it has fielded any complaints. If it has, add that to your list, but be sure to file a complaint to the FTC too if you have one.
Oh, and Bob, before it's still on that subject, before I forget, there's a new scam that I just read about, and it's where they steal your phone. Like they get pieces of your information, and they tell the phone company they're going to put in a new SIM card because they know enough of your information to be able to talk to your cell provider. And they basically steal your phone. So you have to look at it from that. If you get to the point where your phone's not getting any service or you're not getting any calls and texts, be leery of that, because you reboot your phone and you still don't have any service. That's just another one that these scammers are out here doing. I just lost my mind, so just wanted to mention it. So the next one, and this is like in the retiree world, is plan to work indefinitely, but in the everyday life, it's having not having a plan B if your company decides to let you go. I mean, so many people think they're going to continue working the job they're doing, work till I'm 65. But man, there's been layoffs like crazy all over the place. And so, I mean, UPS just announced that they're laying off 4,000 people. Google, Facebook, everybody's laying off people, just trying to keep their costs low and their earnings high, making sure those stock prices stay up. So you can't depend on that. And to combat that, make sure you keep yourself marketable in your field by doing some work to stay up on whatever it is you're into. Make sure you stay on top of your game. You might be forced to stop working early. Make sure you get some emergency money put away with the way companies are laying off. So just don't count on, I'm going to work as long as I want to work, or I'm going to work until this point. Because hopefully it does, but just be prepared if it doesn't, and that if you lose your job, that you got a plan B and you're ready to move on with your life.
The next one is putting off savings for retirement. Now, I know many of y'all have heard of this before and know about this, but it's the single biggest financial regret of Americans surveyed by Forbes. And it's waiting too long to start saving for retirement. Not surprisingly, baby boomers like me and Dope, they've expressed this regret at a much higher rate than younger respondents. Now, many people do not start aggressively save for retirement until they reach like 40s or 50s. And says a financial planner out of Princeton, New Jersey, said the good news of these investors is that they may still have enough time to change their savings behavior and achieve their goals, but they will need to take action quickly and be extremely disciplined about their savings. Now, here's how much you need to sock away, just the benchmark. for, to build $1 million next, say, by 65. Morningstar calculation said, assuming a 7% annual rate of return, you need to save $381 a month if you start at age 25. By the time you be 65, that will grow to $1 million. And 7% is a pretty realistic and conservative estimate. So at $820 monthly, you start at 35. Now, if you're at 45, it'll take $1,920 a month to grow to $1 million at 65. And if you wait until 65, it will take $5,778 a month to reach that $1 million at a 7% rate of return. Now, Uncle Sam, he offers incentives for procrastinators. Once you turn 50, you would have the catch-up contributions to your retirement accounts. Now, in 2020, that means that meant they increased it to an extra $7,500, and the top of the standard was $23,000, and the catch-up for ours was another $1,000 over the standard $7,000. So we know some people will try to wait till late, but the sooner you start, this just shows you it's never too late. The better that compounding interest works for you.
And the next pitfall is when to claim Social Security and claiming it early and not understanding the ramifications. Because right now you're able to claim Social Security at 62. And every year you wait, whatever you get increases by 8%. So if you wait till you're 70, obviously that's a very large increase. Now, if you don't wait if you take it early before you're full retirement age and you happen to make money, you can actually lose some of the money back to Social Security because you haven't reached your full retirement age. So that's a decision that you have to think through, and you want to make sure you take it out at the right time. And, in a perfect world, at least until your full retirement age before you took it. And if you're able to, if you have other monies to live off of, you wait until you're 70 and make up that 8% a year. But again, that's one of those individual decisions that you'll have to wait and decide, figure out for yourself when is the best time for you to take your Social Security, depending on your expected lifestyle, what kind of health you're in. All those kind of things play a role in that decision. But what you don't want to do is take it too early, take it before your full retirement age, still be working, and end up not being able to get the full benefit of it because you haven't reached your full retirement. Understand the ramifications of that so you don't make that mistake.
And though if you take it at 62, early retirement, that's 30% less that you will receive for the life of your Social Security payment income.
I think it's more than that, Bob.
Wow.
If you're talking until 70, it's like 8% a year.
Well, I forgot about the 8% that you do.
For retirement, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so 62 to probably 66, that's about 32%, about 8%, almost 8% a year. So it's a huge difference. And the thing about it, that's permanent. So if you're going to live to be 90, 95, that's a lot of years. You could have got more had you waited. Now, if you're not able to wait, obviously, you got to do what you got to do. But just make a solid decision when it comes to that.
And we did a thing on that before, the break-even point. You need to look at that too, because that makes a difference too. If you look at your actual break-even point for your taking for when or when not to take Social Security. But note, a lot of people fall into this little pitfall, which is borrowing from your 401k. Now, taking a loan from your 401k retirement savings account be tempted. After all, it's your money, and as long as you plan, sponsor permits borrowing, you usually have 5 years to pay it back with interest, and it's usually a low interest. But short of an emergency, tapping your 401k plan is a bad idea. According to Fidelity Investments, you're likely to reduce or spend new contributions during the period you're repaying a loan. That means you're shortchanging your retirement account for the months or even years and sacrificing employee matches. You're also missing out on investment growth for the missed contributions and the cash that was borrowed. Now, as you think about loans for retirement plans, the first thing we say is there anywhere else you might be able to borrow from? We think through the importance of having an emergency fund, but of course, if that's not available, is there any other place that you're able to draw from? Things you might want to think about is if it's a medical emergency. Do you have health savings account that might be able to take that you could take money from instead of your 401k? What's becoming more and more popular is employees drawing money from stock plan options through their employer. Now, if you draw money from there, there's not necessarily a penalty associated with it or the requirement that you have to make payment on the loan directly through your paycheck. So that's another option. Another huge downside to borrowing from your retirement plan is the payback. Usually loans are paid back to the fund over and up to a 5-year period. Now, if you were to leave that employee before that loan is paid off, guess what? You're obligated to pay it back in full within 60 to 90 days, or it becomes a taxable distribution. And if you're below age 59 and a half, there's also a 10% penalty associated with it. So keep in mind that you're paying the interest on that 401k loan with after-tax dollars. A lot of people don't realize that too, though. When you're paying it off, you're paying on money that you actually pay taxes on. Then paying taxes on those funds again when retirement rolls over, you end up paying taxes again. Now, if you leave your job, the loan usually must be paid back in as little as 30 days. Otherwise, it's considered a distribution and taxes income. So remember, before borrowing from the 401k, explore other options. College tuitions, for instance, can be covered with student loans and plus loans for parents. Government subsidized loans. And major home repairs can be financed with a home equity line of credits, which are called HELOCs, though that comes with a considerable risk, so beware.
And just a warning, it sounds good. And I was actually guilty of thinking this too, that, I'm borrowing from myself, so that's better than borrowing from any place else. And that's totally not true. I said, a buddy of mine at work showed me this. I was wrong, I actually. But borrowing from your savings plan is no different than borrowing from a bank. If the bank has the same interest and you take it out of your savings plan, the results are exactly the same. But for some reason, people think because they're borrowing it from money they already have saved, that it's better than anything else. And it's really not. It's the same as borrowing money from any place else. So you want to borrow, if you have to borrow, you want to borrow from the situation that's most advantageous, and you want to borrow from a source that benefits your particular situation. Like Bob mentioned, home equity loan, where you may be able to deduct the interest, or really you should go for the lowest interest rate. So forget about the fact that you're borrowing from yourself. You're borrowing money. Consider that like you would consider any other loan. There's no built-in advantage for borrowing from yourself. Trust me on that. Or do the math and you'll be convinced like I am. So the next item is decluttering to the extreme, or getting rid of things that you might need down the road.
Yeah, what does that mean, though?
Well, it's like if you're a professional, you may need to keep your records. If you lived in one place for a long time, you decide to get rid of everything, and you may end up getting rid of some things that you need. Now, typically, the IRS won't go back in 3 years for an audit. I say typically. They can go back indefinitely if they think you intentionally done something wrong. So in that case, you should at least keep the tax forms and have them ready just in case. Things like your any value you put into your house is going to play a part in your capital gains tax. You need to have any stock purchases or stock transactions where you might have to prove your basis. You need to keep records of that. So you can want to declutter and get rid of everything, and decluttering is good, and getting rid of junk is good. Just make sure you keep what you need. The last thing you want to do is not have something that you need to either prove to the IRS, or like I said, maybe you're a professional and you need to have records that you got rid of. So just be careful with what you throw away.
Yeah, now this next one, dope, I might be stepping on some people's toes. Putting your kids first. Now, we know how near and dear people's kids are to them. Now, I'm sure you want your children to have the best education, the best wedding, best everything. If you can afford it, by all means, open your wallet. But footing the bill for private tuition and lavish nuptials at the expense of your own retirement savings can come back to haunt you. As financial experts note, you cannot borrow for your retirement living. Instead, explore other avenues other than your 401k plan to help a child's education. Now, parents and their kids should explore scholarships, grants, student loans, less expensive in-state schools, start a 4-year school, possibly, 2-year community college, right? Which you can save money until the child can determine what they're going to do, and then transfer to a 4-year college. Now, there are many smart ways to save on weddings too, by the way. There are no plans to go broke. No one plans to go broke in retirement, but it can happen for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons, of course, is not saving enough to begin with. If you're not prudent now, you might end up being the one moving into your kid's basement.
Now, the next one, this is one near and dear to me and Bob. This is buying into a timeshare. And I think I told you before, I bought one. I'm not sure I would do it again, but I'm glad I did it because it did force my family to be able to take some really, really good vacations, and kind of force the issue, because once you buy it, you're going to make sure you use it. And as long as you're using it, I think you do get value out of it. Where you run into trouble, or the part that makes it difficult, is you have these maintenance fees that can go up, or I've heard of some people getting special assistance. I've never had one of those. But just be careful before you jump into one of those, and make sure you fully understand what you're getting into, because it again, you don't know. I think one of the commercials says that's one of the few things you don't know how much it's going to cost, because they can raise the maintenance fees, and they're really hard to get out of to sell, because basically there is no market for timeshares. There is no place to really sell it. So again, I don't think I would do it again, but I'm glad I did it, and I do use mine, so I'm okay with it. Just think for it if you get the opportunity to buy one. Make sure you want to use it, make sure the cost is right, and make sure you understand that those maintenance fees are going to go on forever.
And don't remember, we talked about the other week about Roach Motel concept. They make it so easy to get in those timeshares, but they make it difficult for you to get out of them. So beware. Avoiding the stock market. Now, I this is comes close to being dope, because we know how, so many people shy away from stocks because they seem to be too risky. It's one of the biggest mistakes investors can make when saving for retirement. Now, true, the market has plenty of ups and downs, no doubt about it. But remember, we've always said this. Since 1926, stocks have returned an average about 10% over that period of time to down. And bonds, CDs, banks, and mattresses don't even come close. You keep the money under your mattress is not even close. Now, conventional wisdom may indicate that stock markets is risky, and therefore, you should avoid it. And if your goal is to keep your money safe, a lot of advisors say, however, this comes at an expense at low returns. In fact, you have not eliminated risk by avoiding the stock markets, but rather you shifted the risk to the possibility of your money not keeping up with inflation. That's what's so interesting, though. People trying not to take risks are really taking a risk by not taking some risks that make sure that you keep pace with inflation, and not just inflation, but also with taxes. Now, consider low cost mutual funds like ETFs, electronic traded funds, because they offer an affordable way to own a piece of hundreds or even thousands of companies without having to buy an individual stock. And don't even think about retiring your stock portfolio. Once you reach retirement age, don't nest eggs need to be nest eggs need to keep growing to finance retirement that might last 30 years. Now, you do, however, need to ratchet down risk as you age and as you gradually reduce the exposure to your stocks. We're not saying just go out there and roll the dice, but consider your risk and consider inflation and taxes and the length of time that you're going to be retired. So you want your money to be working for you.
Yeah, and the next one is an important one. We've touched on it before. Is neglecting to make sure your estate plan is worked out. And a lot of people think that's just for rich people, but it truly is not. There's a bunch of reasons why you need to have a estate plan all worked out, and there's so many things that have to be decided upon when you die, and you don't want your estate tied up in probate. And in that case, nobody gets paid but the lawyers. And so, if you're going to retire, that's a good time to do it. But also, if you are any point in life, you should make sure you have things laid out. And a couple other things people typically think of wills and trusts, but you need to have a durable power of attorney that if you become incapacitated, that someone can handle your finances for you. Otherwise, they won't be able to get near your bank account or any funds they might need to get to if you don't have that power of attorney. And the other thing is, we've talked about it before, that medical directive, where you figure out what you want to happen to you if you're in the hospital and you need resuscitate or not resuscitate, and those kinds of things. You want to make sure you have that all laid out before you need it. And so those can create some massive problems for you if you don't have it in order.
Now, this next one, Dodie, could have some difference of opinions, and that's borrowing against your home. And it's tempting for people who are house rich but cash poor to tap the equity that's built in their home. And this is especially true if the mortgage is paid off and the property has appreciated substantially in value. But tempting as it may be, really need to think hard and consider before taking on more debt and monthly payments for precisely the time when you are stopped working, retiring, or lost your job, and your income becomes fixed. So rather than borrow against the value of your home, explore ways to lower your housing costs. Stop with downsizing. How about that? Sell your current home, buy a smaller place in the same area. You don't have to move out, but put your profits toward living expenses. For the ultimate in downsizing, consider a smaller home for retirement. I mean, seriously, tiny homes are inexpensive, upkeep is easy, and utility bills are low. Now I know some of my older retirement friends, they retire in the RV and travel takes its advantages. If you're willing to relocate, sell, or move to a cheaper city that's well suited for retirees, or stay put and find a roommate. The rental income will supplement your Social Security and savings. Now, if you must tap your home equity, tread carefully. If you still have a mortgage, look into a cash out refinance. Just try to keep the length of the refinance mortgage to a minimum should you have to do that to avoid making repayments deep into retirement. Otherwise, investigate a home equity loan. I talked about that earlier, or a home equity line of credit, which is a HELOC. However, be forewarned that under the tax law, you won't be able to deduct interest on these loans unless the money is used to substantially improve your home, such as replacing the roof. Now, in the past, interest could be deducted even if you spent the money on, say, a vacation or a new car. Yeah, that's changed. Now, another option for retirees is a reverse mortgage. I wouldn't recommend that, but it has its place. And like we said, every investment product has its place for people. Now, you receive a lump sum for your money or access to a line of credit that in most cases doesn't need to be repaid until you or your heirs sell a home. But really consider borrowing against your home.
Yeah, the next one is if you're retiring, make sure you know how you're going to fill your free time. And that's something, I've obviously having retired, I've learned that, so much of, if you have a very demanding job, so much of your time is spent at your job, and that's where most of the people that you know and you socialize with are people you work with. Then when you retire, it's like a totally different environment, especially if you move away. And so make sure you've got that figured out of what you plan to do when you retire, that you have enough to keep busy, you have enough challenges, you have enough things that you feel like getting up for, because it's so easy to just kind of exist and not really enjoy yourself because you were tied to your job. So make sure you know how you're going to spend your time. There's a zillion things to do. You can go back to school. A lot of the colleges have free or really discounted courses for retired people. There's a ton of volunteer opportunities. A lot of people like to golf. There's a zillion things to do. Just make sure you've laid out how you plan to spend your time when you retire.
Now, downsizing your 401k contributions while you're working is another financial pitfall. Now, usually large tax bills in our household forced us to scale back on contributions to our retirement savings, normally in the last year. Now, that's an area to tread lightly in, financial experts say. Now, if people are thinking of decreasing how much they're currently saving, make sure you choose very carefully and ensure you're taking advantage of the 401k employees match that you might be eligible for. There's no sense in leaving money on the table. And save at least enough to get that match. That's money your employer is willing to give you, and we wouldn't want people to miss out on that benefit. Now, many retirement plans offer the option of automatically increasing your savings rate. And that's and now with the new Secure Act 2.0, they actually got other kind of benefits to help people to save. But you can actually have an automatic increase in your savings rate onto your 401k plan now. Now check that box that you increase at some point in the future. That might be helpful to make sure you get back on track with your retirement savings.
And the last one is based on these target date funds. And according to Fidelity, 50% of people who have 401ks invest in target date funds. Now, what that is you pick a date you're going to retire, and the fund is geared towards generating enough money to have at that particular target date. So as you're younger, that's going to be a lot more aggressive, and as you age, it gets more and more conservative. And that's okay, but you just have to really pay attention and make sure you stay on top of it for if your target date changes, if your other personal situations change and you decide to be more risky or less risky, you may need to adjust that target date plan. And it's all about in you planning, knowing where you're going, knowing what you're doing, knowing where you expect to end up. So it's basically having a plan, which we always talk about. You have to have a plan. And you have to review that plan and you have to make adjustments as necessary.
So we know that was a lot of information as we always go through. And I know some of y'all are probably shocked at some of the things that we consider financial planning pitfalls. But remember, that's not an all-encompassing list. There's so many more other things you need to consider. So make sure you do your homework and you actually, get advice from your friends and professional people that you know that have some of the knowledge in that. So with that, Dope, let's go to the summary and takeaways on what we talked about today.
Okay, I think you're first.
Cool. Love taking that opportunity. So think it through. It is so important that you continue to not move so fast. Take your time. Don't be no knee-jerk reaction or somebody that told you something quick scheme, get rich quick scheme. Really take your time, sit down. You got time. There's no rush. Consider it. Really think it through before you make your moves.
Yeah, life happens. You need to understand that things don't always go the way you think they're going to go. Sometimes bad things happen, sometimes positive things happen. But either way, you've got to be prepared for them. You've got to realize know that things aren't always going to go as you plan, and make sure you're prepared when things don't go like you expect them to.
And if it seems too good to be true, guess what? It normally is. It normally is. So be careful of the information that you get. Take your time. Like I say, there's no rush. But really, normally, if it sounds too good to be true, like somebody offering you some astronomical return on your money, no. You really need to back up and do some research.
Yeah. I don't care how old you are, the best time to start saving is right now. That's when you start. I don't care where you are. Don't put it out any longer. Don't put it off any longer. Start saving as soon as you can. Okay.
And the last one, which is so near and true to me and Dodie's heart, is don't ignore the stock market. Um, Most people think that most rich people inherited their money, their wealth, but it's not true. Most of the people made money from the stock market. We only have but so many different, avenues or vehicles, investment vehicles to our disposal. And the stock market is one, and I know a lot of our people shy away from it, but it is one way, just one way, other way to build wealth. And if you're not taking advantage of it, you're missing out. And we're not saying just go out there and take all kinds of risks. We consider that you consider taking a calculated risk. So, Dope, that was a lot. As always, we hope you picked up some pearls of wisdom today, you all. And if you have any comments, put them in the box. But don't, as we always do before we tune out, we do roll call. Garnett Nickens, thank you for tuning in. My brother, Carl Chapman, my little brother. Love you, my brother. And hope all is well. Tell Rhonda I say hello. Now, what's up now, Dodie? Now, always sticking there and supporting us. Thank you now. And today we got my good best friend and ex-co-worker, Tracy Denise Jackson. Hope you're still with us, Tracy. Thank you for tuning in. Hope there was some useful information for you there. My wonderful sister, Nolia. What's up, Nolia? Rodney L. Madison Sr., TheNoteExperience.com. Go out there and check him out as an alternative investment, you all. Joanne Skinner, good evening, and thank you as always. And Maddie, welcome back. Maddie, where you been? Maddie Ford, what's happening? Good to see you, my dear. My wonderful sister, who's out there on YouTube, Gloria Kinzer Browner, better known, her middle name is Rena. So glad you're sticking with us, Rena. And just want to thank everybody for tuning in. And look forward to next week, though. It will be number 136. And I guarantee you all will have some more interesting information on financial education and helping you to build wealth and hopefully leading to generational wealth. So with that, Dope, do you have any closing remarks?
Watch out for the scammers. Get your taxes done.
Oh, how about that one, Dope? Hey, look, how about that one, though? You have to wait till the 15th. Get your taxes done. That's a good one. And
you got to do it anyway. You got to do it anyway.
You got to do it anyway. And
yeah,
this
eliminate people trying to steal your identity.
That's what I was going to say, Dope. That's what I learned from you, Dope. This is another thing, you all. There's so much fraud out there. You can't stop it, but you can do things to prevent it, right? And one of the things to help prevent fraud is get your taxes done, because they stealing, matter of fact, Dope, they stole Dope's tax check before, right? So the sooner you get it,
they didn't still check. They filed a claim under my wife's name, and that screwed me up for trying to file my own taxes. And so it just really put us in a bad situation.
That's worse than stealing the check. Stealing identity. I mean, your tax return going deeper in there. So that's another encouragement, y'all, to get your taxes done soon to stay ahead of these frauders, okay, and identity thieves out there. All right, look forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank you all once again. We love y'all, and we look and see you next week. Have a good day.